Welcome to the Buying Time Blueprint, where we're covering the top 52 questions that business leaders and entrepreneurs ask. My name is Dr. Chika Akua. I'm an award-winning educator, author, and entrepreneur.
My name is Anthony Boyce. I'm built multi-million dollar businesses. I'm also an author and business automation consultant.
Man, it's great to be here again with you, Brother Anthony. We had a wonderful time on our first episode covering some critical information. And then it kind of occurred to us when we called this the Buying Time Blueprint, we need to explain what that means. Some people say time is money. Other people say, no, time is more important than money because you can
Mhm.
get more money, but you can't get more time. So
Mhm.
I first heard this concept of buying time from you in those terms. And I had my ideas about it, but what did you mean by it when you said buying time?
Excellent. So I'll take my time and try and be as concise as possible when I'm explaining this. Just a little bit of background. I recall when I first started working, as we all do, we're paid hourly, right? I recall my first job, formal job, was working at Blockbuster Video back when that actually existed. So you can tell how old I am. And I think fast forward a few years, I had been in healthcare, I had built a successful business, and I encountered some challenges in my life personally as an adult after achieving great success, where I found myself in a situation where my family and I experienced homelessness. We actually experienced not having a place to stay. The business wasn't thriving, and I couldn't understand how I'd gone from this miraculous height to this challenging situation. And I think, and at that time, I'm a personal faith, and it came to the point where I was literally living day by day. And that's when the Lord shared with me the four stages of sort of the four levels of um, existence in terms of not just stewardship, but in terms of resource, and then also the concept of buying time.
Mm.
Um, and I'll try and explain that now. So there are four levels of existence that we all. I'll try and define them, and I'm going to show. I'm going to use a resource here that'll help me with that.
Sure.
Um, so there are four levels of existence, and this is mentally, emotionally, physically, financially. So there's subsistence, where it's just day by day, you're just sort of making it, it's just sort of surviving, and you can be in incredible financial abundance, but be in emotional, mental, and spiritual subsistence. I use the example not in poor taste, but of Robin Williams, where you have someone who has fame, notoriety, wealth, but the underlying element is that emotionally and internally, they're just subsisting. They're just making it day by day, and then they choose to opt out. So
Mm.
obviously, you can have great material wealth, even social esteem, power, influence, but internally just be subsisting. Um, and then you have stability, where, from a financial perspective, you're able to meet the requirements necessary. The house note, car note, all that good stuff. And there may be a minimal surplus, but there's no growth, right?
Mm.
And that sort of stability. Now, growth is a very different thing where you're able to not just meet your obligations, but have a consistent and growing surplus. And that's kind of where we all want to get to. And then abundance is a higher level where your surplus, your abundance is creating additional opportunities. That's where we see, well, we have these resources that we can invest in the stock market, or we're going to invest in another business, or we'll invest in real estate. So our surplus creates opportunities for us. And that's how I've defined it. Um, in terms of buying time, that came from a situation where literally, I think one year, Kobe and I were discussing this, a mutual friend that you and I have, is we stayed in 26 different Airbnbs in one year and
Wow.
multiple hotels. Yeah. And when you do the math on that, you understand that you're literally thinking in the concept of, I have another day or two. I have another week here.
Hmm.
I have 4 days here. We can afford one night here. Obviously, that's subsistence, and that's where this concept of buying time really became concrete for me because the goal was to buy 30 days. If I can just get 30 days in one place
Mm.
and I can get the time to sort of focus on one thing, be in one place with some stability, then I can double down and I can focus on getting to the next stage, buying another 30 days, buying another 60 days, another 6 months. What if I could purchase a whole year in one place for my family with opportunities and create stability? So I'm subsisting now. What if I could get to stability? And that's sort of the concept of buying time. That's where it came from. Um, and
Bro,
then,
I just want to pause right
excuse
there
me.
for a moment and thank you for that moment of transparency because as I look at these four stages, subsistence, stability, growth, and abundance, and I know we have some hardcore entrepreneurs who are watching right now, man, I've been through each of these levels back and forth, right? And so we don't want to just talk to people like we just had this straight shot to the top. No, that's
Exactly.
not how this path works.
Nope.
There's all kinds of ins and outs and ups and downs and all sorts of things that you have to deal with on the entrepreneurship journey. But I
Mm,
appreciate you being willing to kind of peel back the curtain and say, hey, things haven't always been great. But now we have a system in place to make sure
mm.
that we can be on a growth and abundance trajectory.
Right, right. And I think largely, I'm bet. Excuse me. Sorry, TK, got that cough.
No
I'm
problem.
happy to share with you, and I share this with the people that I consult. I actually was just speaking with a doctor. She owns a national software company, and this applies to everyone at every stage. And I think, I've seen most notably Myron Golden talks about this, where you get to the mountaintop and there's this, there are those of us who've gone through and we've lost it and had to build it again. And I think the challenge is stewardship. When we understand these four phases and buying time, we understand where we are, when we're there, we have a framework and a structure to define it, and then we can steward well so that we don't fall back.
Yes. So now for you, buying time looks different. You're not trying to buy 3 more days or a week or even a month. Tell us what that looks like from a wider perspective now.
Excellent. So I'm going to jump here to another slide really quickly. And it's a bit complicated, but excuse me, I'll simplify it. So the concept of stability, your stability number. So that's really, really simple. All of us, I'm sure, TK, you have a budget for home and a budget for the business, correct?
Hmm.
Okay, perfect. So your stability, you as an organism, your TK at home, at church, at school, in the office, your TK everywhere. So there's not really like a home budget and a work budget. There is all of these elements that contribute to your stability. You drive your car to work, you drive it to the game, you drive it everywhere. And you need that resource for stability in your life, right? You need
Right.
a phone, you need a roof. And when we were in a position where we didn't have a home, where we didn't have a car, you know, you see, these are the things that are required for me to be authentically Anthony and contribute to this world in my the best version of me. So that's stability. It's not the home budget. It's not the the business budget. It's both of them combined, and it's that number. So
Right. Right.
the amount to lease the office, the amount for the software, even the Zoom subscription, all that goes into a pot. And you say every month that total number is my stability number, right?
And that means if I get this much, I'm good for the month. I've got all the bills covered, and I can still probably, go out to eat, once a week or something. But everything is pretty much good.
Right. So there's not a substantial surplus, but we're good,
Mm.
like you said. And so let's say for simple numbers, that number is $10,000.
Hmm.
Okay, great. Then that means every month, what's required for my stability as a human, as TK and Anthony, is $10,000. So whenever I receive a contract for 10,000, I know I've got this month covered, right? So I bought this month in
Hmm.
terms of buying time. I got 30 days. Now, if I get a contract for $120,000 and I know my stability number is $10,000 for 1 month, that's 12 months of stability. I've just bought 12 months of time. So
Hmm.
if, excuse me, if I get sick and don't have and can't work, um, if there are any challenges or the business stagnates, um, I lost my grandfather recently. I know you've experienced something similar. If there are any challenges that cause us not to be optimal, that's okay because
Hmm.
we have 12 months of stability, right?
Hmm.
And so, in terms of buying time, you know, you and I, we talked briefly, as an analogy, I took my mom's car to the mechanic. And I think it was a buddy of mine. He did me a favor. It was a couple $100. I paid for it. And my mom, I can't take the money. I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back. So a couple weeks later, I'm like, hey, Ma, are you still planning on paying me back? She says, Anthony, are you worried about that? I said, well, hey, you said you were going to pay me. I didn't say you had to. She's like, well, do you really need a couple $100? And I told her something that the Lord sort of revealed to me in this time frame is that I said, Mom, I don't have extra money because everything that God has given me, He's entrusted to me for a reason, right? So you don't have extra money. You just have a limited understanding of stewardship, right?
Hmm.
Because everything you get is for a reason. And so if the average life expectancy, we can do some math here. I don't want to pause because I don't want to get off track, but in terms of buying time, let's say our stability number is 10K and there's 12 months in a year, we know that's $120,000 annually for our stability number. Well, if I'm 45 and the average life expectancy is 75, we know that's 30 years, right?
Hmm.
So 30 years times $120,000, right, will give us our lifetime stability number. So that's $3.6 million would buy the rest of our average life expectancy for Anthony.
Hmm.
So I know people talk about having the kind of money, to be free or, you know, um, I think they use the term, I don't want to be vulgar, but FU money, right? Where
Right,
you
right.
can do whatever you want.
Hmm.
I think we have an abstract understanding of what that could be potentially. Oh, if I won $1 million, if I got $5 million, or if I had this many clients consistently. But having that concrete number to ground it and to understand that to maintain this standard of living for the rest of my life looks like X.
Hmm.
In this case, $3.6 million. That is our concept, or that is a concept of buying time that grounds us to our business, our life, and the workflow, the expectations of our productivity to produce this as a minimum requirement and ground it in everyday behavior and quality of life.
Yeah, this idea of buying time is so important. And I think we're actually doing that all the time. It's like when you pay your
Mm,
mortgage or your
wow.
rent, you're buying a month. When you pay that car payment, if you have one, then
Mhm.
you're buying that month of being able to utilize your car. Same thing with gas, electric, and all your utilities and different things like that.
Right.
And so it's
Right.
important that we, as entrepreneurs, that we project, where we want to be. I'll never
Mhm.
forget when I first started, on the journey full time, I was like, okay, if I could just get my stability was like $5,000 a month at that time.
There you go.
This was
Yep.
literally like 20 years ago. I was like, if
Mhm.
I just
Mhm.
get 5,000 a month, um, and then it was like I wanted to get to 5,000 per engagement that I was doing, and I got to okay, if I can get 10,000 a month, oh my gosh, that would just be astronomical, right? Then I hit that, and then I was like, okay, man, what if I could get 25,000, then up to 50? And we've done all that. But I like the way that you have systematized this to get us to think analytically about where we want to go. And then not
Mm,
only that, that stability number, um, is there going to be stability month to month? So, for example, I told you, we were able to get 10,000, 25,000, 50,000, but it wasn't every month, right? It was up and down and up and down. So, and I know again, the hardcore entrepreneurs that are watching, they know what that's like. You have one great
yeah,
month and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I can't believe I wasn't doing this for a longer period of time. But the key is replication.
right.
Key is being able to maintain that over time and increase it over time.
Yeah. And I think largely, I love that you said that, GK, because for me, I remember, gosh, we had the house, the cars were paid for, all that good stuff. And then, when we encountered that particular challenge, we had a decision to make. It was, are we going to pay everybody out, or are we going to declare bankruptcy and kind of keep everything? Right. And we decided to make and I'll get into that on, you and I can circle back. But I think that getting to the level where you're thinking about, or you have to think about, gosh, what am I doing on a daily basis? What can be taken or not? I remember I made very it's influenced my stewardship
Mhm.
because I'm thinking long term. For instance, um, once we recovered, I remember I had an option to get a vehicle. And instead of saying, I want to get, this, I like foreign cars, so I like German automobiles. They're kind of my favorite, and I'm a BMW fan. So instead of saying, I'll get a brand new X5 or a 7 Series or something like that, I remember having a conversation with the Lord, and I ended up buying a used 5 Series that I have no car note, right? I've since sold the car, but I have no car note. And I think that the value of that was I came out of an experience where I thought that same thing. My buying values, my stewardship changed
Mm.
because after having the house and multiple vehicles and all that good stuff, I thought, is it really mine if someone can come take it because I didn't pay for it?
Wow. Yes. Mm.
And that came out of, you know, not having a home.
Hmm.
Where I thought, well, what's the difference between me buying a month in an Airbnb or 2 weeks or 10 days or whatever the case and paying a mortgage for a month, right?
Hmm.
And I had to think, okay, so when I'm choosing my quality of experience, which is what I'm doing, am I going to live in a 5 bedroom, 5 bath, or am I going to live in 3 bedroom, 2 bath? And am I going to pay it off or pay cash, or am I going to go get a mortgage? Am I going to buy new clothes when these clothes are just fine? Um, do I need to have the latest and greatest vehicle when the whole point is to get from point A to point B? We're made in uh, we say often that we're consumers, but we as business people are creators.
Mm.
We
Hmm.
create, you and I are both authors. We speak and we give value, the value of our experience to help contribute to the success of other people. So when I'm a creator, I'm optimizing my creativity, and that means I choose to position myself to continually be stewarding so that I can continually create.
Mm. Gotcha.
So, yeah, buying another car, if that doesn't contribute to my ability to contribute or create, I don't do it.
Yeah, I've seen that as kind of a consistent theme, amongst successful entrepreneurs that when you start making money, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. And the more you make, it's like you start thinking more and more like, okay, I don't really need that added expense. I've worked so hard to earn this. Let me hold on to this and get something that's less expensive, right? But I
Mm.
want to talk about my concept of buying time as well, because it was slightly different than yours, but obviously still on the same track. When I was first starting off, um, I was racking my brains trying to figure out how to make it as a consultant. So
Wow.
I had I was building a consulting and publishing company, right? And that has
Nice.
morphed into a global educational technology company. Okay.
Mm.
But back when I first started, I was like, okay, I'm racking my brains, pulling all my hair out, as you can see, trying to figure out how to get figuring out how to get booked as a speaker, how to sell my books, how to get contracts and all this kind of stuff. And a friend of mine who was further on the path than I was, he said, "Hey man, you're a $5,000 to $10,000 speaker." I'm like, "Man, I appreciate the compliment, but who's going to pay me that? How am I going to get it?" He said, "You just need some training." He said, "You're already
Mhm.
a great speaker. You need training on the business of speaking." So he referred me to this guy who did this training. And, I went and I did that. The interesting thing about it is my my mentality behind doing that is, okay, if this guy can show me how to make 2,500, 5,000, 10,000 every time I present, then instead of it taking me 5 to 10 years to figure that
Mm.
out, I'm
Mm.
willing to invest thousands of dollars to buy that time back so I can actually start producing. So, whichever angle you look at it from in terms of buying time,
Mhm.
that's what this podcast is all about. It's the buying time blueprint, showing you how to no longer waste time trying to figure out all this stuff for yourself. You got two guys in front of you who are seasoned and have a great deal of experience and expertise from the top to the bottom, as well as the
Mm.
bottom to the top and back again. We've
Yeah.
both undergone a lot of things on this
Mhm.
entrepreneurial journey,
Mhm.
but we feel blessed and privileged to be able to share it with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate that, Chike. I think for me, after having won on some, I'd never taken a quote unquote loss before. And I think I realized in retrospect, it's only a loss if you don't and not a lesson if you don't take away a win, something
Mhm.
that can cause a win in the future. And I think the benefit for me, especially winning so early with the first company, going into multiple millions with a small team so quickly, was how to replicate success consistently. And
Yes.
then after being able to replicate success, taking those same frameworks and structures and implementing them, but the stewardship piece. How are how do you what are do you how do you create a framework for decision making as you progress?
Hmm.
And that's based on principles and not just what's currently most productive. You know, when we evaluate these potential opportunities, they say crypto. What does that mean to you as an individual and to your business? They say AI. What does that mean to you as an individual and to your business? And so, for me, what was necessary, after going from here to here and working my way back, the idea was, okay, I need a system, a structure, and a framework. And that's largely what we do here is, I'll provide a resource to our viewers. Obviously, they'll be able to get it down, click on the link in the description and kind of figure out how they can define where they are: subsistence, stability, growth, or abundance,
Hmm.
personally and professionally in their business, and then understand the parameters for that and the decisions they should be making or can make within their business to ensure that they remain on an upward trajectory. Because largely it has to do with your understanding, you know, my people perish for lack of, not time, not talent, not opportunity, but knowledge. So obviously there's something you don't know that you could know that could get you there faster. Kind of like as a speaker, were like, hey, I'll go make this investment, increase the value of my time
Right.
so that I can meet or exceed my stability number more consistently or more easily. right?
Yeah, and like I said, we have people who are at varying levels of this entrepreneurial journey. I know for a long time, man, I was praying for breakthrough. If I can just get this
Man.
opportunity or this set of opportunities or this
Yeah.
amount
Hey,
of income, I'm
no hair either.
And then I was telling one of my a person who provided spiritual guidance to me and so forth. I confided them in at this particular season in my life. I said, you know what? I'm not praying for breakthrough anymore. I'm praying for breakthrough management. So the breakthroughs came through, and it's like, oh my gosh, now I'm pulling my hair out because I got to manage, all these. Be
Mm,
careful what you ask for. But I think the fact that we've been through these ups and downs, and like I said, hardcore entrepreneurs know it's like a roller coaster ride. The highs are so high
mm,
and the lows can be very low. So
mm.
hopefully and prayerfully through tuning in to the Buying Time Blueprint podcast, we'll be able to smooth out that ride so it's not so up and down, but so that it's more leveled out and, as I said before, on an upward trajectory.
Good work for you. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we're our purpose and our goal. You and I both have a heart for people, and part of the reason we decided to do this, excuse me, and I know for me especially, after you're already very successful. I've had successes myself, and I think the challenge is how do we provide that opportunity to the people in a structured framework where they can execute on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we provide these resources and solutions in the description. It's because these are the same things we use and are using to continue that upward trajectory and to protect our time and buy those opportunities for ourselves and our children, our families and friends in the future. So 100% I agree with you there, Chike.
Yeah, man. As we wrap this up, I'm
Excuse me.
smiling because a person came up to me at an event maybe a couple months ago and said, "Man, Dr. Kua, I've been meaning to tell you, you just always look so peaceful and so calm." And I just smiled and then I said, "It's funny that you say that because it's kind of like the duck that looks like it's gliding across the
Mm,
water, but when you look under the water, it's paddling feverishly, right, to keep up with things." And that's how it can be as an entrepreneur. But the
mm,
benefit, of tuning into this podcast is that you're dealing with two brothers who have been there, done that, and are still doing it and still on an upward trajectory. So we know that we're covering the top 52 questions that entrepreneurs and business owners are asking. But we wanted to dovetail and take a moment to break down this concept of buying time just so that we're clear before we get back to those questions. So we appreciate you guys tuning in this week, and we invite you to come on back, smash that like button, share it with somebody, because the best is yet to come, and we got some powerful information to share with you. So thank you for joining us on the Buying Time Blueprint, and we'll see you next time.
see you next time.